Hare Krishna. I welcome all the Madhva kids. So nice to see all of you after a long time. So I see Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, Anirudh, Divyansh, Prahlad, Seva Priya Mataji, Sita Preethi Mataji, Tulsi Manjari, Vinita, and Vidushi. Very, very nice. So let me start off by the prayers, and then I'll ask a few questions, and let's see if everyone is able to answer. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayati Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you all so much for joining. So first question, which chapter are we discussing? Which chapter did you discuss till last week? Yes, Vinita?
Chapter 15.
Chapter 15, very nice. Second question, what's the title of chapter 15? Again, Vidushi, go ahead.
The Yoga of the Supreme Person.
Very nice, Yoga of the Supreme Person. What is it known in Sanskrit? Anyone knows? Yoga of the Supreme is called as? Any guesses? You can take guesses, no harm.
Is it Purushottam Yoga?
Very nice. Very nice. Purushottama Yoga. Very good. Very good. So anyone remembers how this chapter begins? What's the first verse of this chapter? What's the analogy that is made? How is the material universe compared to? Anyone remembers the very first verse, Purushottama Yoga? Yes, Seva Priya.
There's like Lord Krishna compares it to an analogy where he says that there's a tree and there's a reflection of the tree, that we're like stuck in the reflection thinking that the reflection is real, but in reality that's just like a reflection.
What's your name?
Sevya Para.
Your name is Seva Priya. Oh.
Sevya Para. She is initiated Mataji, Madhava kid, the one I was always speaking to you about. This is the girl.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Sevya Priya. Excellent. Sevya Priya. Very good. Good job. So that's the analogy. The analogy of the banyan tree that is upside down, and the upside down banyan tree is the material world. Very good. Okay, so now let's, our agenda for today is pretty much to revise what you have learned through this chapter. Okay, that's the main agenda for today. So we are going to revise some concepts that Mataji has taught you. We are also going to try to recite some verses. Okay. So let me ask you further questions. So in the very first verse, Krishna says that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has the roots upwards and its branches downwards. Does anyone remember what the leaves are compared to? So the entire, yeah, wonderful, very nice. I see so many hands. Vidushi, you want to try this?
It says that the leaves are compared like to the Vedic hymns.
Excellent, very nice. The leaves are compared to the Vedic hymns. And one who understands this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So very good. Let me ask you a question now. The next person, whoever is ready, can answer. What is the purpose of the Vedas? Why should we know the Vedas? What do we get?
To understand Krishna.
Wonderful, Tulsi Manjari. Very nice, to understand Krishna. So that is the very purpose of the Vedas. So in this chapter itself, Krishna talks about the purpose of the Vedas. Anyone knows that verse? I'll give you a hint. If anyone wants to try, you can try, or I can give you a hint and then you can try. Okay, it has these words, Vedaischa Sarvair. Yes, Savior Priya, go ahead.
Should I say the whole verse?
Huh?
Should I say the whole verse?
Yes, the whole verse. You can recite the whole verse.
Sarvasya chaham yadi sannivishta mattasmritirjnanapohanam cha vedaishta sarvairahameva vedyo vedantakrit veda videva chaham.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, what does it mean when Krishna says Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishta? What does that mean? What is Hridi? Yeah, Savior Priya, go ahead.
Sarvasya chaham yadi sannivishta means that I am seated in all the living entities' hearts.
Very good. As what?
As the Paramatma.
Excellent. As the Paramatma. So that's how Krishna is present within everyone's heart. And this Krishna who's present within everyone's heart is the one whom we are trying to search through the Vedas. Okay, so Krishna is telling from the Vedas, I am to be known. Okay, so this banyan tree that we saw in the first verse is an analogy to show how this material world is. So this material world is very complex, right? So there are so many planetary systems and we keep taking birth after birth. So it's a very complex banyan tree. So do you think that one can get easily entangled in this banyan tree, or do you think liberation is easy from this banyan tree? What's your opinion about it? Anyone wants to take an answer on this? Give it a shot. I'll repeat, okay? So this material world is complex. You all agree to that, right? It's not easy. We are in a particular spot. We have taken a particular birth. So we are sort of entangled. So do you think it's easy to get rid of this material world, or it is difficult? Okay, let me question.
Can I answer?
Yes.
I think it's difficult because like you still need to practice and like do a lot of devotional service to.
Correct. Very good, Prahlad. It's very complicated, right? So just taking shelter of the Vedas is not going to do much help, but you have to take to devotional service. You said that very rightly, Prahlad. So you have to take to devotional service, and that is the only way to get out of this material world. Very well said. Okay. So what are we doing here in this material world? You know, we are trying to pick the fruits in a reflection, because this entire material world is compared to the reflection of the original tree, right? So we are trying to enjoy the fruits in a reflection. Can you enjoy the fruits in a reflection? You cannot, right? If you have seen the reflection of a tree on water surface, can you just pick the fruit from the reflection? You cannot do it. So that is what we are trying to do here, and our efforts are going in vain. We are not successful. So what do we have to do to this reflective tree? What should you do to it? Should you maintain it nicely, or what should you do? Okay, I'll give you a choice. You want to maintain it nicely, or you want to cut it down? What do you want to do? There are only two answers. Okay, Vidushi. Yeah.
I'd want to cut down the reflected tree and like not let go of the illusion and look at the real.
Exactly. You want to cut it
Mm.
down. Very good, Vidushi. And how do you think you can cut it down? So you are in this entanglement, right? So if you're in this entanglement, you're constantly associating yourself with things of this world, right? So to get away from the things of this world, what do you need to develop? Sevya Priya, yes.
I think that we need to develop some Krishna consciousness, because when we have some Krishna consciousness, it like gradually we lose taste for like unnecessary material things, and then we when we lose taste for unnecessary material things, we only take what we need, and like just to keep the body and the soul together. So then when that happens, then we're not like, you know, going to watch movies every day or something, and slowly we get detached, and then gradually we can attain Krishna.
Excellent. You got the word. It is detachment. You said that. Very nice. You explained it in great detail and you also used the right word. So how do you cut down this tree? You cut down this tree by detachment. Correct. You don't get entangled. Don't get too serious about this world. Learn to detach yourself. So that is pretty much the essence of the first verse. So you understood the first verse in detail. Now I need a volunteer to chant the first verse. Do you want me to share screen or you have it in your memory? Anyone knows the first verse? It begins with Urdhva Moola Madashakam. Anyone knows? By memory or you want me to share screen? What's your choice? Sevya Priya, go ahead.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhamulam Madhashakam Ashwatam Rahoravyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, and we'll take some more volunteers to chant the verse. I'll share the screen for their benefit. Anyone else would like to chant?
Can I try, Mataji? This is Prasadam.
Yes.
Shri Bhagavad Vacha Udamulam Madashakam Ashwatam Prajaya Chandam Siyasya Parnani Yastam Veda Saveda.
Very good. Any volunteers for the translation? Tulsi Manjari?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas."
Excellent. So the real tree is in the spiritual world. We have to cut this down by the power of detachment, by the acts of detachment. That's how you cut down this tree. So that's what you learned in your first verse. Okay. Now we are going to see what else verses we have learned in this chapter. So in this chapter, did you also learn I think the next verse you learned was probably fifth verse, if I'm not wrong. Let me see. Which was the next verse you learned? Does anyone remember? No one remembers?
Mataji, I think it was 15.5.
15.5. Very good. 15. Okay, but before we move on to 15.5, I want to give you the flow of how the fifth verse came up. So in the very first verse, we saw about the imperishable banyan tree, and we saw that the leaves are the Vedas, right? And what is the recommendation? We are not supposed to take this too seriously. We are supposed to cut it down, okay? And because there's some further description about the tree, that the twigs are the objects of the senses, and one gets bound by fruitive activity. So there's some more description about this tree. And the real form of the tree cannot be perceived in this world. But for us to cut down this tree, what do we need to do? This is what we need to do. That is described in verse number 5. So verse number 5 tells us that those who are free from false prestige, illusion, false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who unbewildered know how to surrender to the Supreme Lord, attain that eternal kingdom. So what has happened? First, the material world is described. The material world is it is a reflection, right? So that is what is described. And then Krishna tells us it's very complicated. Don't get entangled here. So you have to cut down this tree. And just by cutting down this tree is the problem solved. Now let me ask you a question. If I tell you your house has become very old, it's not fit to live there, just tear down your house. tearing down your house is a solution, or you need something else? Can anyone answer? What would you do? If I tell you, break down your house, you don't need it anymore. Okay, let me call out someone's name. Divyansh, do you want to answer?
Okay, sure. So basically the question was, if you don't want your house, then what you should do, Like if somebody tells you that you shouldn't use your house anymore, then what you should do, right?
What would you do? If I tell you that it's not livable anymore, tear it down. What's your next course of action? What would you do after that?
Get a new house.
Exactly. And what sort of house would you choose to get a new house?
I don't really care about like what the house is, like how big it is or how luxurious it is. It just needs to fill my basic needs.
Needs to fill your basic needs. And what problem did you have in your previous house? Why did you tear it down in the first place?
Because somebody told me that it was uninhabitable.
Okay, uninhabitable. So you would want to find a solution of getting a better house that is habitable, right?
Yeah.
And that is permanent, not something that fails all the time. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for a nice place that is permanent and that doesn't have these issues, right? When you're trying to go to a new house, you want to go to the eternal place. You want to go to the eternal kingdom where there is, no dualities. There is no happiness, distress, the problems of this world. So similarly, Krishna is telling us, he tells you, you tear down this tree, okay? You tear down this material world, get out of this entanglement. But he doesn't tell you get, just destroy the material world or destroy your attachment pretty much to the material world. You cannot destroy the material world, but you can destroy your attachment. So Krishna doesn't say just destroy your material attachment, but he also gives a better solution. He invites you, he calls you, he tells you, come to my eternal kingdom, okay? So that is what the 5th verse is about. So he's giving you an invitation. He's telling you, come to my eternal kingdom. And to get to his eternal kingdom, we need some means, okay? Like, for example, if you're vacating your house, you're tearing down your house and you've purchased a new house, how would you get to your new house? You would get to your new house in a vehicle. You would drive your car, or you would get U-Haul, put your stuff, in a trailer, and you take it to your new house. So like that, to get to the material world, we need a few qualifications. And those qualifications are also mentioned in verse number 5. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are free from dualities of happiness and distress, who are unbewildered, and most importantly, one who surrenders to the Supreme Lord. So this is the real formula for us to get out of this material world and develop attachment to something higher. To go to the spiritual world, what is the most important thing we need to do? We need to surrender. Okay, surrender is the most important thing. Okay, let me ask some volunteers. Who wants to chant this verse? Nirmama moha jita sanga dosha. Nirmanam. Yes, Savior Para. Go ahead.
Nirmana moha jita sangadosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvandve vimukta sukha dukkha samtir gacchantya mudha padam avyayam tat.
Very nice. Tulsi Manjari.
Nirmana moha jita sangadosha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama dvandvar vimukta sukha dukkha samjna gajantya mudha padamavyayam tat.
Wonderful, wonderful. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to ask you some meanings. So I want you to find out the meanings. So what is sukha? What? Sukha.
Happiness.
Happiness.
Happiness. Wait, let me see the participants. Okay, Vikyant, very nice. Nice to see you, Vikyant. I see Anirudh. Oh, Srinidhi here. Very nice. Some of the older participants are also there. Very good. Okay. So sukha means happiness. Very good. What is avyayam?
Eternal.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So padam avyayam means the eternal place. Padam, like we say parama padam. Parama padam is the ultimate abode. So like that, avyaya padam. Padam. Very nice. What is dukkha?
Distress.
Suffering, distress.
Very good. Kama?
Lust.
Lust, desire.
Fire. Very good. Very good. Moha. Moha.
Illusion.
Illusion. Yes. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. You've heard about these, right? The 6 vices. Jita. What is Jita?
Conquered, having conquered.
Yes, to conquer. Who is Ajita?
The one who cannot be conquered.
Yes, correct. Very good. So who's that? Who's Ajita?
Krishna.
Krishna.
Very nice. Very nice. Very good. Very good. Okay. Nice to see you all. Nice. Okay. Anyone else would like to chant the verse? Okay. Everyone has given a chance. Good job. Okay. So the surrendering process, that is what is described in this verse. So it's very interesting how the surrendering process is described. So to actually surrender, to develop that mood of surrender, one should develop humility. Okay, so one should be free from false pride. When one becomes free from false pride, he can actually become free from delusion and develop true knowledge. And by cultivation of true knowledge, one can ultimately surrender. Okay, so what are the things that we should not have? We should not have pride. How does pride occur? Pride occurs due to illusion. So pride and illusion should be completely washed away. We should not think that we are the Lord of the world. Then everything becomes complicated, right? So as long as we are under the false impression that we are the controllers, we can never make any progress. So first we need to cut out false pride that we are in control of everything. So that's the very first step. Okay, that's the very first step in any sort of spiritual process. You should consider yourself very, very humble. Okay, and he should understand you're not the real Lord of anything, and this is true knowledge. So once you cultivate proper knowledge that you are not the controller of everything, once you understand by proper knowledge that you have to be humble, then what happens? You are able to surrender. And once you surrender, you can get out of this material world. So far what we have seen is, we have seen that we are in this material world. This material world is like a reflection of a banyan tree. Then we are told that we should not take it too seriously. So we have to cut it off with detachment. But then Krishna doesn't tell us just cut off your house and you go nowhere. He gives us an invitation. He tells us come to me. And he also gives us the formula by which we can get to him. So what is the formula? Anyone can say it in one word. What is the formula to go to the spiritual world? Yes, Savior Para.
Surrender.
Surrender, yes. How do we become surrender? By cultivating
Humility.
humility. Yeah, by cultivating humility, we conquer ignorance, we are situated in the right knowledge, and we are able to surrender to the Supreme Lord. Excellent, good job. Okay, now I'm going to pick the next verse that we have discussed. So let me see what the next verse we discussed was. Anyone remembers the next verse? Okay, so the next verse we discussed was verse number 7. Okay, so I'm going to pull up verse number 7. Let's see a connection to verse number 7 and then we'll proceed further. Okay, So now Krishna, he told us that you have to develop the process of surrender, get rid of different vices and come to me. Develop the process of humility and you can come to me. Okay, so he gave us an invitation. But when he's given you an invitation, did he describe what sort of world is there in the spiritual world? How does the spiritual world look like? Just for example, if someone tells us you're invited to this birthday party, okay, and they just call you, they don't give you more details, they don't give you the address, they don't give you the description of the place, they don't tell you where exactly it's located, will you be able to go there? You won't be able to go there. So you need more details, right? So as soon as he gives you an invitation in the very next verse, Krishna, he gives you more description about how the spiritual world looks like. So that was verse number 6. I don't know if you went through that verse, but in that verse, Krishna tells that this supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon or fire or electricity. So he gives a very fancy description of the spiritual world. And he tells us that once you reach this place, you will never ever return. Okay. Once he gives you a description of this place, a question may be, arising in our hearts. If I go there, will I be happy? Will I feel comfortable? So that is a question that will come in everyone's heart. Now you have moved your house, okay? You have torn down your house. You have taken up a new house on an invitation. The person who has invited you has given you a description of your new house. You're very happy. But still, just by getting some information about the new house, are you going to really feel comfortable? Is that your natural position? Will you feel happy? Okay. So to resolve that question, in verse number 7, Krishna tells us why we will be happy in that location in the spiritual world. Okay. Now I'm going to ask one of you to recite the 7th verse. Okay. I'll just give you a hint of how the verse starts with. The verse starts with Mamai Vamsha. Vikyant, you can recite.
Mamaivansho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana mana shashtanindriyani prakritisthani karshati.
Very clear, very nice recital, very nice. Okay, let me share screen and ask one of you to read the translation of that verse. Yes, Sevyapara.
ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूता सनातना मनःषष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति.
Very good. Tulsi Manjari, you want to read the translation or recite the verse?
I can do either one.
Okay, go ahead, do both otherwise.
Oh, okay. Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashastranindriyani prakritisthani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind.
Excellent. So at this point, Krishna, after giving us an invitation and after describing how the spiritual world looks like, he gives us an assurance that you're going to be happy in the spiritual world, though you are unhappy in the material world. And why are we happy in the spiritual world? Because we are all parts and parcels of Krishna. Mamai Vamsha, right? Amsha means a portion. Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke. You Jivas, all of you, are simple parts and parcels of me. So when the parts and parcels are with the whole, automatically the part feels comfortable, right? So he tells you that you're a part of me. So if you come to me, you will feel very happy. But actually in the material world, you're suffering. You're suffering with your different senses and the mind. Okay, so that is what he's telling us. You're actually going to be happy there in the spiritual world. So let's see some words here. What does, we already saw what Amsha is. Okay, what does Jiva mean? Jiva is?
Living entity.
Living entity, very good. Prakriti is?
Material nature.
Correct, very good. Prakriti is material nature. Indriya. What are the indriyas?
Senses.
Senses, yes. What are the different senses? Can you list the senses? Eyes, nose, ear, then tongue, ear, nose, tongue, okay. Skin, okay, skin. Which is the sixth sense? Mind.
Mind.
Manashashtani. Shashti is 6. Okay. It doesn't say mana. It doesn't say just pancha indriya. Indriya is generally 5. Only pancha indriyas are there. But here Krishna says shashtyani indriyani, the sixth sense, and the sixth sense is the mind. Okay. So I'll read the translation again. The living entities are in this conditioned world are my eternal fragment parts. But due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. But if you come to me, you're my fragmental part, so you will be very, very happy. So that's the assurance Krishna is giving us in this verse. What is Sanatana? We didn't cover this. Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Krishna says, right? What is Sanatana?
Eternal.
Eternal, yes. So Krishna is also eternal. We are also eternal. That's why we are as parts and parcels. So we are very similar to him. Okay. So we are all considered as Tatashta Shakti, meaning we are his marginal parts and parcels. Okay. So we have the minute independence to choose to either associate with the material world or associate with the spiritual world. Okay, by our free will. So Krishna is telling you have the opportunity to come. You also have the potency to come because you're my parts and parcels. You also have independence. If you choose to come to me, you can actually come to me. And he already told you the formula. He told that you can go by surrender. And how do we surrender? First, we have to cultivate humility and come to the right knowledge. Okay, so is everything coming together? So this is what this Purushottama Yoga, this Mataji has taught you guys in great detail. It's a very, very important topic. It's a very, very important topic and it has a lot of secrets in it. So he says in this world, you all are struggling very hard. Manahakar, he says karshati. Karshati means very, very hard. It's very significant. Manashashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Very hard. We are struggling. We are pulling around in this material world. And it's a tough place. You know, it's not a very, very easy place. It's very tough. So he's telling you, just get rid of this world. You're a part and parcel of me. Just like how a small piece of gold is same in quality as a gold mine. Or a drop of water from the ocean has the same quality as the ocean, right? But the quantity is different, but still the quality is similar. So similarly, we are all very similar to the Lord. We are also Sanatana. He is also Sanatana. So we have all the qualification to go to him. Okay. So we have covered verses 1, 5, 7. Now slowly we are going to move to verse number 12. That was the next verse you all read. But before we go to verse number 12, we are going to establish a connection. How we got to verse number 12. Okay. So then after this, Krishna explains to us that you have been through many births. You are struggling very hard in this material world. You're taking birth after birth, just like how air carries aromas. Like the wind, when the wind moves, it just carries the aroma of a flower, like it's spring now. So in many parts of the world, there could be flowering plants. So sitting in your balcony, you can actually smell the different fragrances of flowers. So the air, the wind that is blowing is carrying aromas. It is very subtle, right? Can you physically see the wind blowing and carrying that aroma? Can you see that? You really cannot see it, but you can sense it. You can sense it with your nose. So like that, we are actually going from one life form to the other without even understanding the process. It's very subtle, you know. After our time in this material body, our subtle body carries our soul to the next body. And this goes on and on and on. And we never realize that we are entangled for so many years. So like this, because of karma, we are very difficult. It is a very difficult place and we are struggling here. And he describes a little bit about transmigration. And he tells us that one who is trained in knowledge can actually understand what this transmigration is all about. So we saw already in the formula of surrender that one should develop humility and develop proper knowledge and come out of illusion. If we develop the proper knowledge, we can get out of transmigration. So a person who's properly situated in knowledge, he is able to see all this. But if a person doesn't have self-realization, if he doesn't understand that I am the soul and I am not the body, then it's very hard for him to understand that, right? So after telling this, he comes to the 12th verse. Now in the 12th verse, he's going to tell you that even though you are in this material world, he told you how difficult it is in this material world. He gave you an invitation, but then he's trying to inspire you and tell you how even if you are in this material world, he's constantly taking care of you. Okay, even to run this material world, it is not possible without Krishna's mercy. So Krishna takes care of us at different levels. He takes care of us at a cosmic level. He takes care of us on a bodily level. So like that, in every single place Krishna is present. He takes care of us in a mental level. So each one of this he describes. He tells us, though you're so attached to this material world, remember that even this material world doesn't function without my sanction. Okay, so that is where we land in the 12th verse. I'll give you a little bit hint on how the verse begins and someone can recite this for me. Okay. Yet adityagatam tejo. Did you do this verse? Did you do 12? I don't know if you did 12. No, you have not done 12. Sorry, I thought you did 12. Okay. So I'll share screen the verse. You can just read the translation. I don't think you've covered this verse. So let me share screen. And one of you read this translation. Who wants to read?
Mataji, can I read?
Yes, Varun. Of course.
It's Divyan.
Who's it?
Divyan.
Divyansh. Oh, I'm sorry. I got confused. Thank you, Divyansh. Nice to see you. Yes, go ahead.
The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. And the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me.
Correct. Yes, the splendor of the moon, the splendor of the sun, everything in this world is actually coming from the Supreme Lord. So he's telling us that whatever you see in this world, even that also I am only maintaining. You all know we need the sun and the moon for our maintenance. So Krishna is providing us with the splendor of the sun and the moon that is coming from his energy. Who wants to read the next translation? I thought Varun raised his hand. So Varun, you can go with the next translation.
Okay, Mataji. I enter into each planet and by my energy that stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables.
Correct. So Krishna is telling, he's still telling about the cosmic level. He's telling how the sun and the moon comes from his energy, and not only the sun and the moon, but all the planets in the universe are staying in orbit by Krishna's energy. The moon is supplying the juice in all the vegetables. So if anyone has wondered how the plants, the vegetables and the fruits become so juicy, how do the plants produce food and get such nice nectarian juices? It is because of the shine of the moon. In the night time when the moon shines, these juices are produced inside the plant. So that's how Krishna explains that. Okay, so even to eat, whatever is there on a cosmic level, it is all possible only because of the Lord. So after he describes the cosmic level, next he goes on to describe about how he takes care of us on a bodily level. Even within our own body, Krishna is constantly taking good care of us. So let me see if that is, let me just give me a second. Okay, the next verse you have learned is verse number 15 and then 18. Okay, but I still want someone to read the verse and the translation of this one, 14th verse. Can someone read the verse and translation?
Mataji, can to listen? Say.
Yes. Go ahead.
Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashrita Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyanam Chaturvidham.
So nice, right? Yeah, go ahead. Read the
I'm the
translation.
fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life. outgoing and incoming, to digest the 4 kinds of food stuff.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So what did he say? He's taking care of us at a cosmic level. He's taking care of the planets, the sun, the moon, all of that. All of that is very nice. But the same Krishna also takes care of us in a bodily level. How does he take care of us in a bodily level? Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva. So in our stomach, okay, so you're all eating food every day, 3 times a day you eat food. So there is a fire of digestion inside the stomach. You've all heard about gastric juices in your biology class. Have you heard about it? Anyone knows what is the acid that helps with digestion? You've not had it still? I thought you guys are in high school, aren't you? Pin drop silence. Okay. Anyone knows how food is digested?
I think that's like a fire and then it burns the food and then it goes through all your organs. I'm not that sure.
Okay, so yes, it's a fire, meaning it's heat. Okay, so there are some gastric juices that are produced. There's hydrochloric acid in your stomach. So scientifically, okay, so all this is there, and all these are a product of fire. Okay, heat is a product of fire. You all know that. So there is bodily heat, and that heat helps with digestion of food. So here, that Jataragni, it's called Jataragni. Jatara means your abdomen. Okay, there is an Agni there. Agni means it's not that physically there is a fire that is burning. It doesn't mean like that. It means that there is a constant heat and a lot of acidic substance that is helping with digestion, which is called as Vaishvanara. Okay, that Agni, that is, it's very subtle. It's not like an open fire, but it's very subtle. It's called Vaishvanara. So that helps with digestion, and that Vaishvanara gets its energy from Krishna. Krishna only burns that fire inside your stomach every time you have to digest food. So even for digestion, we are so dependent on Krishna. That's what he's telling you. Not only is he taking care of the planets, he's also helping you digest your food. And then he balances the different life airs. So when you inhale, it's called as pranavayu. Okay, when you inhale, this pranavayu, it splits into five different kinds of air in different directions. So one air moves downwards. Okay, one air moves in, balances everything in your body. So like that, one air that you inhale helps in all the functioning, like moving your bones and muscles. Also, you need air for that. Okay, if there is no flow of air inside the body, it is very difficult for the body to function. So pranapana samayukta pachami annam chaturvidham. So you eat 4 kinds of foods. What are the 4 kinds of foods? Anyone knows? Even in your Guruvashtakam prayers, you must be chanting this. Anyone knows the 4? Early morning Mangalarati? Anyone chants the prayer?
Are there like the 4 kinds of prasadam?
Chaturveda Sri Bhagavad Prasado. Yes, someone wants to say that?
Is it like the chewable, the liquid? I don't know the other ones.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, go ahead. Who was the other one? Say the prayer.
The foods that are that you drink them, that you chew them, and you lick them, and you suck them.
Perfect. Very nice. All of you are so smart. Yes. So those are the 4 kinds of food. So even for digesting these 4 kinds of food and taking care of the life air, everything is possible only by the Supreme Lord. So after he said that, he comes to verse number 15. This was one of the verses you went through in great detail. So we'll have all of you chant this. So you can start taking turns. If everyone can take turn to chant this verse, because it's very important, I'll be very happy. Sarvasya Chaham. Who wants to go first? Okay, say it. Yeah, go ahead.
सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तस्मृतिज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तविद्वेदविदेव चाहम्.
Excellent, Varun. Who's next?
Can I go, Mataji?
Yes, Vikyat.
सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तः स्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृत् वेदविदेव चाहम्.
Very nice. Good. Who's next?
Mataji, can Tulasi go?
Yes, Tulasi.
Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvarahameva vedyo vedanta krit veda videva chaham.
Very good. Very good, Tulasi.
Can I say?
Yes.
सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तस्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृत् वेदविदेव चाहम्.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very nice. Who else? Srinidhi.
Can I also try this? This is Prahalad.
Yes, Prahlad.
Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattah smritirjnanamapohanam cha vedaischa sarvairahamevya vedyo vedantaprit veda vidya chaham.
Very good, very good. Srinidhi.
सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्तस्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृत् वेदविदेह चाहम्.
Very good. Did everyone get a chance? Whoever raised hand or who wanted to chant? Aditya, did you raise your hand? Okay. Okay, good. Very, very nice. So I think we have covered this verse to a great extent, how Krishna is actually sitting in our heart as the Paramatma. And what all comes from him? What is Smriti? Anyone can tell me?
Remember.
Remembrance. Very good. What is Jnanam?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. Very good. So Krishna says Smriti Jnanam Apohanam means forgetfulness. Okay. So all knowledge, forgetfulness, remembrance, everything is coming from me. And he tells us Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo vedantakrit veda videva chaham. So of all the Vedas, I am to be known and I am the compiler of the Vedas. So he tells us that, you know, you're being in this material world and you're using the Vedas to accrue fruitive results. But remember, the essence of the Vedas is me. Only I am to be known through these Vedas. Not only am I helping you in a cosmic level by maintaining the planets, not only am I helping you digest your food and be in your body, I'm also helping you on a mental level. Because Smriti, Jnanam, Apohanam, everything is coming from me. Okay, so Krishna tells us how he is so personal with each one of us. Okay, so that's Krishna's agenda, so that you get attracted to him and you want to go back to him. Okay, the next verse we did was 18. Sorry, okay. 6th verse, of course, 16th verse, he just talks about two different kinds of living entities. One is fallible, one is infallible, meaning he makes a comparison between the people in the spiritual world and the people in the material world. So he tells us that actually in the spiritual world, there are many living entities. Okay, Krishna has his eternal associates, but he tells us that you're all stuck in the material world. Try to become like the ones who are in the spiritual world. Take inspiration from them and come to me. So he continues to describe a little more about the people in the spiritual world. And then he tells that the spiritual world people are wonderful, but he makes a distinction telling that he is different from everyone else, meaning he's Uttama Purusha. That's why this entire chapter is called as Purushottam Yoga, because this Uttama Purusha, he's transcendental to both the people in the spiritual world and the people in the material world. So he makes a distinction. He tells, I am the super soul for everyone. Even though there are many people in the spiritual world, even for them, I am the super soul. I am the supreme Lord. Okay. So he tells us that, and he tells everything is in his control. So we can very well go there. Okay. So was it 18th verse? That was the last verse you guys did. Yes, you did the 18th verse last. Who can recite this verse? Any takers for this verse for reciting?
Can I, Mataji?
Yes, go ahead.
Yasmat saram atitoham aksharad api gotamaha attosmi loke vede cha pratithahat purushotamaha.
Very good, Devyansh. So where do you see the word that this chapter is named after? Which
Purushottama,
Purushottama. What is the meaning of Purushottama?
the Supreme Personality.
Yes, the Supreme Personality. Okay, so who's Akshara? Who's Akshara? Who's Kshara and who's Akshara? In this verse, you say Yasmat Ksharam Matitoham Aksharat Apichottamaha. What is Kshara? What is Akshara? Kshara means?
Infallible.
Kshara is infallible, Kshara is fallible. Okay. So actually, technically, Kshara means to diminish, okay, to reduce, basically, to fall down, to reduce. That is only Kshara. So it's called fallible. So the people, we all are fallible, but Krishna is beyond the infallible. Okay. He is beyond everybody. So because now anyone can read the translation. Any take us for the translation?
Mataji, can I say?
Yes, dear. Go ahead.
Because I'm transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I'm the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person.
Exactly. So the people in the spiritual world, those eternal associates, they're infallible, okay? Because you've reached the spiritual world and we are all fallible. But is there someone who's beyond both the fallible and the infallible? That is the Supreme Lord. So he says that Aksharat Apichottamaha. I'm greater than even them. So Krishna is definitely the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he makes this grand statement by himself. And that is the reason why this chapter is named as Purushottam Yoga. So there is living entities in the spiritual world. There are living entities in the material world, but Krishna is beyond both of them. He is different from both of them, and he's the controller of everyone. The word Uttama is very significant. No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. So that is the ultimate statement of this word, of this verse. Okay, so after that, only 2 more verses and this chapter ends. So he tells towards the end, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without any doubt, who understands that I am everything, such a person in full devotional service, he has the real knowledge. He is the knower of everything. And this is the greatest of all secrets. Iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam mayanaga etad bhutva buddhiman syat kritakrityascha bharata. He says this is the most confidential part of all Vedic literatures. O sinless one, mayanagha. Anagha means sinless. Okay, so he calls Arjuna, you're sinless. And because you're sinless, I'm disclosing the secret to you. What is it? That this entire Purushottam Yoga is the topmost secret. It's the most confidential part of all Vedic literatures. And whoever understands this becomes very wise, and he will perfect all his endeavors. Kritakrityascha bharata. All his endeavors will become perfect. So that's all your Purushottam Yoga is. So that was the agenda for today, to kind of revise whatever you have done so far, especially the verses that were covered, give you an opportunity to chant and understand the meaning. Okay. So anything else? A couple of you have raised hands, or was it the old hand raise? New or old? It seems to be old. Okay. So we are going to meet again next week. It's time. So we are going to meet again next week, and we are going to have a Kahoot to make sure that you have revised 15th chapter very well before you write your exam the week after. So 2 weeks from now will be your exam on the 15th chapter. Next week will be a comprehensive Kahoot on the entire 15th chapter before you write the.
And we also have a presentation by Sevya Para.
From when is that, Mataji?
Monday, next Monday.
Next Monday is.
Yeah, presentation, yes.
Okay, very good. So let her finish the presentation. If we have time, we can have a Kahoot, but your exam will be 2 weeks from now. Okay. So be prepared for your exam, whether you have revised it or not, whether you have done the Kahoot or not, you're going to have the exam. Xavier Para is going to do the presentation next week. We want everyone to attend. I'll also be there. We'll watch your beautiful presentation. And then if possible, we'll have a 5 or 10 minute quiz and we'll finish next week. The week after Xavier Para's presentation will be your exam. Okay, we'll end here, Mataji.
सिंधुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय प्रीति विलासिनी माताजी की जय ऑल किड्स की जय बाय बाय एवरीवन विल सी यू अगेन नेक्स्ट वीक